Marvel's Spider-Man for the PS4 was recently called the Iron Man of Marvel video games. And if that doesn't get you excited as a fan of both Marvel Spider-Man and comic book superheroes in general, then I have no idea what will. What's going on YouTube? My name is Ramakrishnan. If you're new around here, welcome to my channel. I love to talk about games that are out and games that are going to be coming out soon and get hyped over that, but today's video is about games that are not even necessarily ever going to happen. It's all hypothetical, but should these games come to fruition one day, that would be a dream come true, or 5 dreams come true, because today I'm going to talk to you guys about 5 Marvel superheroes that I think deserve their own games after the success of Spider-Man. Coming in at number 5 on this list is Black Widow. Seeing as her story, which has really only been hinted at in the films such as Avengers Age of Ultron, really seems interesting, and I think that a game can do a lot with that and tell us a really cool story.
What if I fail? You'll never fail.
I could see a Black Widow video game being kind of like a spy thriller.
Hang on.
So you already see where I'm going. I actually feel like if you look at games like Perfect Dark or Splinter Cell, you can get a lot of inspiration in the style of this game that I'd love to see. So Black Widow actually reminds me of Joanna Dark for some reason quite a bit from the Perfect Dark games, which are obviously no longer around.
I do the jobs you never hear about.
So it would be perfect to see a nice stealth action game, probably with some tight corridors and, you know, using different physical attacks and acrobatics and whatnot, and also some different weapons of all sorts like a spy would use. And I could see it being really cool. I love stealth games. I love Black Widow, and I think that she would be awesome for a game of that nature. Coming in at number 4 is one of the most popular superheroes this year thanks to the film from Ryan Coogler, and that's Black Panther.
The Black Panther has been the protector of Wakanda for generations.
So T'Challa himself
Prince T'Challa
would be a really awesome character for a video game. Not only do you have the perfect world to create a beautiful open world in, but also tell a really interesting story, but you also have a character that is perfect for video game action combat. I mean, if you look at the way Black Panther fights in the films and in comics and whatnot, that would lend himself extremely well to a third-person action game. And I can see it where you can upgrade the costume and whatnot and upgrade your skills and abilities, get faster, jump further, hit harder, defend yourself better. And I could see a really beautiful Wakanda. Some developer out there who really knows open world games could probably create such an amazing world with a lot of immersion, because the Black Panther lore is incredibly compelling. So imagine being able to side with different tribes and make your own decisions of who you want to work with and work against.
We fight for all of them.
And see some sort of betrayal within family and whatnot, and have that really interesting dynamic that the Black Panther film used for its storytelling.
I waited my entire life for this. The world's gonna start over. I'ma burn it all.
And of course, like I said, the action would be perfect. Black Panther really would let himself well. So that is the number 4 superhero that I'd love to see get a game. And taking the midpoint on this list is the Incredible Hulk.
We have a Hulk.
So all you have to do is look back at Hulk Ultimate Destruction, a game that, no, I've not got my hands on myself, but I've heard enough about to know that that really depicts what it's like to be the Hulk.
My name is Bruce Banner, and this is me.
It's apparently a lot of fun to just wreck the city, and Hulk is an awesome character that would be perfect for that kind of game. So if you look at some games that are using environmental destruction, of course Crackdown 3 is apparently going to do some crazy things with that.
Whack, whack, mother ducker!
But I think an Incredible Hulk game would be really good because Hulk, like I said, he's really awesome.
Look like raging fire.
Just being able to just destroy everything, cities and vehicles, tanks, throwing enemies around, probably some really big, large-scale epic boss fights in New York City. And Hulk also is a really interesting character, so the dynamic between Bruce Banner and Hulk could be great for a story.
Dude, you're embarrassing me in front of the wizards.
I'm sorry, I can't or he won't. Or like, I don't.
Hey, stand down.
If you look at duality of a comic book hero and their alter ego outside of being that superhero, it's a really good thing to tell a story about. And Insomniac did a fantastic job with Peter Parker and Spider-Man.
Maybe Peter Parker can have more of a life.
And I believe that they could, or anybody else could, potentially do really well with Bruce Banner and Hulk, especially because Banner struggles with becoming the Hulk. Sometimes he doesn't want to. He gets a little mad, gets a little stressed out, and then boom, he can't control that.
Hulk, always Hulk.
And that is super interesting. They did a really good job with that in the, I think, underrated film from 2008, The Incredible Hulk. So, yeah, Bruce Banner and Hulk would be a really interesting story. And like I said, just imagine playing as Hulk. There's nothing better.
Puny God.
Coming in at number 2 on our list is the Guardians of the Galaxy.
We're the Guardians of the Galaxy.
So yes, there is a Telltale game out there, and that is really interesting and a great story-driven game.
Thanos is here! Destroyer of worlds, big glowy gauntlet, wrinkly chin. Yeah, I've heard of him. Time to rock and roll.
But we're talking about an action-adventure game, of course. So the Guardians of the Galaxy are really interesting characters. There's a lot of fun to be had with them. If you look at the films from James Gunn, you can see that each character has something special about them. And I believe that the ideal Guardians game would let you play as all 4 main characters. Groot will be in there as well, but I don't think as a core playable character.
I am Groot.
So here's kind of my pitch. I'm looking at Star-Lord.
Who?
And he would give you that third-person shooter experience. You can probably fight enemies on the ground, but also like in space and flying around and stuff, and you'd have some pretty standard guns and some space guns and whatnot. I almost feel like I can see a Nathan Drake, but in space comparison.
Star-Lord, man. Legendary outlaw. Guys.
So that's Star-Lord, but then you have Drax, who would be a third-person action, more like melee combat, and I feel like he'd be that heavy hitter. He'd use some weapons and whatnot, probably a bit of a tank.
Drax, aka the Destroyer. Since his wife and family were killed, he's been on a rampage across the galaxy in his search for vengeance.
But then Gamora could be almost the opposite, but still that third-person melee. I feel like Gamora would work well for some stealth sections and using some more weapons and whatnot, and she would be really cool for a third-person action game.
We're just like Kevin Bacon.
And then sticking to third person, but using some shooting, would be Rocket Raccoon. Whereas I think that what they can do with him in this ideal game that I'm talking about here, Rocket Raccoon can use all the heavy weapons.
Oh, yeah.
It's in his name, Rocket, right? He could have a rocket launcher, a minigun, I don't know. Rocket's a crazy guy, right? So I could see them doing that to change it up. And imagine being able to play as all 4 characters. Certain story missions will have you play as one or the other, and then you might switch in a really cool cinematic moment, depending on what's happening in the cutscenes of the story. But then give us an open world, like an open space adventure. This game already sounds amazing, doesn't it? And you can change between each character and pursue side quests and whatnot, help others, hurt others, do whatever you want. And I think that that would be sick. So yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy, an open world space adventure we can play as all 4 main characters. And let Groot be a side character for Rocket.
He says, welcome to the frickin' Guardians of the Galaxy.
Now, before I get to number 1, I want to make sure you guys go in the comments and let me know your list. Give me 5 Marvel superheroes that you would like to see get their own games.
All right, Avengers.
Let's see, do you agree that Iron Man is the number 1 character to get his own game? Because I sure do. I really would like an Iron Man video game. I always have. I mean, I fell in love with the Iron Man film from 2008 and rewatch it every once in a while, and seeing Iron Man in every single Marvel Cinematic Universe film, really, he's an awesome character.
No one's allowed to talk, is that it? You can't talk?
No, you intimidate them.
Good God, you're a woman.
I think that the writers do such a good job with Tony Stark as a character, and then all the action and whatnot with Iron Man. He's sick.
I humbly present the Jericho.
Now, the way I'm looking at it is that Insomniac sort of has the perfect build for an Iron Man video game. Even if they throw us in the same New York City, but then just give us all the Iron Man stuff, Iron Man lore and villains and whatnot.
Just good old-fashioned revenge.
But you see, we have the Stark suit, right? Which is from Spider-Man Homecoming.
If you're nothing without this suit, then you shouldn't have it, okay? Gotta sound like my dad.
And then we have some other references to Iron Man spread out, the Avengers Tower and whatnot. And if you look at the footprint of the game design they used for Spider-Man, I could see that lending itself perfectly to an Iron Man video game.
Underoos! Nice job, kid.
Iron Man has such a huge history of suits. All the marks, you know, there's a lot of really awesome suits, and each one kind of comes up with its own upgrades, and that would be perfect for a game. Literally, it's screaming perfect Iron Man game right there, because you can unlock new suits and they give you new abilities, but then you can just mess around and just choose whichever suit you want. You can upgrade your abilities and skill trees, and you get new abilities with each suit, and you can sort of just keep improving upon that until you get your ideal suit, and maybe they can even take it deeper than what Spider-Man was like. Maybe you can change paint jobs and whatnot. Imagine that. Create your own Iron Man suit. That would be amazing. Iron Man's action, perfect. I mean, it's a game where you get to fly around and shoot arm cannons and whatnot. And like I said, you'd be upgrading your abilities and weapons and whatnot in your suit, talking to Jarvis, flying around, learning new things, and fighting on the ground too. Iron Man, literally, if you just watch any movie that he's in, you can see how that would translate to a game perfectly. There's also got to be a good story about Tony Stark and Iron Man. And if you look at any of the films, I know I keep mentioning the Marvel Cinematic Universe films, but how could you not? That's kind of the best place to look at. And if you look at the way Tony Stark fights with being poisoned by the arc reactor, or dealing with struggling with his relationships with Pepper Potts,
I have to protect the one thing that I can't live without. That's you.
Happy Hogan, Natasha Romanoff, the rest of the Avengers, and anyone else in any of the films.
Is this part of the plan?
Well, my plan was go easy on him. You want to switch it up?
Really, there's a lot of interesting dynamics, and Tony Stark is a really great character that would be perfect for a game. So, honestly, if I can get any game right now, like just hypothetically, it would have to be an Iron Man game, developed by Insomniac, that takes place in the same world as Marvel Spider-Man.
Ready? In 3, 2, 1.
That is a dream come true.
I am Iron Man.
Alright guys, that is it for me. That is my list of 5 Marvel superheroes that I think deserve their own games. Of course, there are so many characters out there in the Marvel Universe. Whether you look at films, animation, other games, or the comics, of course, there are many characters who totally deserve their own games and would lend themselves perfectly, but these are 5 that I thought of. I kind of pitched my ideas of how they would work out, and I can see them being a really awesome game, each in their own ways. So be sure to let me know in the comments below what you thought about my pitches for these characters. Do you want to see games of any of these 5? And if not, who do you want to see get their own game? And do you want to see Insomniac tackle them, or another Spider-Man sequel? What's your favorite Marvel video game? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. And if you guys like this video, be sure to leave me a thumbs up. If you're new here, feel free to ring that notification bell and subscribe, because I've got plenty of awesome content coming your way, talking about Spider-Man, talking about Marvel, talking about other video games coming out this fall and whatnot, and far beyond. So look forward to that. Otherwise, my name is Ramakrishnan. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.